पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, everybody.
Krishna, everyone. So I guess I was just thinking that after we sign out, maybe Bhaktilata can continue.
Okay.
So Bhaktilata, if that's all right with you, could you continue the discussion? Because we'll have to sign out like around I guess 7 our time. So do you think you could continue? Or anyone else? Yes. I can't hear you.
Amritvani, you guys didn't send her rasgullas and gulab jamuns yesterday again.
I know. Amritvani has an unbroken record. Okay, Bhaktilata, go ahead.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes. Bye.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So from chapter,
Whatever we
No,
are
no,
doing,
whatever we are doing, we'll continue.
we leave like 5 minutes early, or like 5 minutes before and before the hour,
Yeah.
right? So then you can continue.
okay, can someone else also
You and Tarini, Tarini, can you help?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
What to do exactly?
we'll let you know. We'll, as we progress. Yeah. Okay. Not
And
a
one
big-
humble request to all of you, since this is a Friday program, and Friday program is very
in person.
in person. So let's be present in person. Otherwise, it feels very distant and impersonal.
So nice to see everyone. Yeah. Come on, guys. We used to come together, right? So it's just think of this. Let's see. I'm going to put this on gallery view. So now we see Amritvani looks beautiful as always, every day sitting there like a sage. Tarini Ganga, Nikunja, and I see the kids.
Rebecca, Rajesh.
Rebecca, Shweta, how nice. Anshula, Anchita, Rajesh, Kavita, Karthik. Nice.
Kavita, so nice to see you all of
See,
you.
yeah, now we feel like
See, it feels like a program now, otherwise it feels like a
program.
broadcast.
Exactly.
Hello, Mataji. I was really missing you.
Oh, I'm missing you too. Can't wait to come back.
All this coronavirus issues and
I know, right? It's completely changed. You guys are going to grow up in such a different world, aren't you?
You guys are having a Zoom growth.
And is that Anjana? Anjana of my heart. Where is Anjana?
Oh, this is Anjana
Yeah.
Chaudhary. Hi, Hare
Hey,
Krishna.
Anjana, so good to see you. So good to see you.
Long time.
Long time, yes.
Yeah.
All right. So we are actually in Bhagavad Gita. And just give us a minute. So we are actually going through the Bhagavad Gita systematically. And right now we are in second chapter, right?
Yeah.
Second chapter. So we'll discuss, read these verses together, talk about, some points. All right.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Utastvakamashmalam idam vishame samupastitam anarejustam aswargyam akirti karamarjuna.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy."
I think we already read this last time, right?
As I was reading this, I just had another thought and then we can continue. I was just thinking that this also works for Krishna telling each one of us that, hey, you're a spark of pure consciousness. What's up with you? Like, why have you allowed all of these layers of conditioning to cover you? And then you're speaking like a person who doesn't know the real value of life, and this could also, here he's referring to him as an Arya, but it also refers to us as a spirit soul.
Yeah, we are every soul is an Arya actually.
Yeah. What did you do to yourself?
Where did it go? Klebyamasmakama partha netattai upapadyate kshudram hidaya dorbalyam taktotishta parantapa.
O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy.
So the same thing applies. If you take it in that spirit that Krishna is
Yeah.
speaking to me,
Yeah.
and give up this weakness of heart. We all have this Hridaya Dorbalyam. This word is going to be spoken twice in this chapter. Hridaya Dorbalyam. So we Shudram Hridaya Dorbalyam.
Mm.
So this petty weakness of heart is, we can talk about it this a little bit.
Yeah.
This is what keeps us in this material world, weakness of heart, because of which we are not able to take strong decisions about the purpose of life.
I think that's sort of, that summarizes our kind of dilemma in this world, right? Is this inability to really, stand up and say enough. Like I think Vaisheshika Prabhu said, right, that no mas, right, no more, and that requires, some amount. And Krishna is really, really speaking to Arjuna, but he's also speaking to us that, do not yield to all this. It's not, it does not become you. That means that you're much greater than this. You're much greater than, those little pecks that, or these little droppings that you pick on the ground and think that that's all that you're allowed. And
like Dhruv Maharaj said, I came here for broken pieces of glass and you've given me the real diamond. So Krishna is right there in front of Arjuna, and Arjuna is not choosing Krishna, he's choosing his own petty weakness of heart. Similarly, for all of us, Krishna is right there in front of us in so many ways, in the form of the Bhagavad Gita, in the form of deities, in the form of all these teachings, but yet the heart goes somewhere else. So I guess this is a chastisement that we can give to our own heart, that do not yield to this degrading importance.
Wait, why don't we take a pause here? I think I saw Karthik also raise his hand.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
Karthik, go ahead. You have some thoughts, and then we'll continue reading.
So, Prabhu, would you explain a little bit between weakness of heart and softness of heart? I think in the first chapter, it was more emphasized that Arjuna had a soft-heartedness.
Such a good question.
So yes, that's a very good question. Difference between weakness of heart and softness of heart. So yeah, soft heart is always good, but when the soft heart is guided by spiritual principles, then it is actually soft. Otherwise, it can be just a sentimental thing that we see quite a bit around. And that's why Krishna is asking Arjuna to develop the spiritual conception of life and be guided by dharma. The true dharma is following Krishna's instructions. So if our heart is not in alignment with Krishna, then it can be soft or hard. It doesn't matter. It basically, Krishna is categorizing that as a Hridaya Dorbalyam. It's a weakness of heart. Weakness of heart means it is attracted towards the what is good for the body and mind, and it's not attracted by what is good for the soul. So Arjuna's compassion for other living entities, although it was coming from his softness, but it was coming out of attachment for his own family members. It was coming out of attachment for his own sense of what is right and wrong. And therefore that softness was misplaced softness, and it would have been led Arjuna to a lower position, infamy, and something not pleasing to Krishna.
I was also thinking that the softest heart in the material world is still made of steel. It's still framed, because the so-called softness simply means that I cry when my interest, it's all about my own self-interest and my extended self-interest. And so what is called softness of heart is actually not soft-heartedness, but actually a pure devotee of the Lord exhibits the ultimate soft-heartedness, where they cry genuine tears of pain when they see other people suffering. and they don't just cry, but they actually live a life of sacrifice to be of some service to eradicate that pain. So that is, that sense of being able to expand our boundaries and include the world in that, within it, or in fact have no boundaries, right? They're able, this is actually the definition of a Mahatma, which means that he's so broad-minded that for him, everyone is part of his family. And so in that case, he's a well-wisher for everyone.
Yeah, and this, I guess, as you're saying, our heart has to be soft for Krishna.
Mm.
First, our heart has to be soft for Krishna and willing to follow Krishna's instructions, however inconvenient they may be. In Arjuna's case, this contrast has been brought out in broad daylight, that Arjuna's heart was soft for everybody in the beginning, but not soft for Krishna. And by hearing Bhagavad Gita, his heart became soft for Krishna. And therefore, when he followed Krishna's instruction, then although he was fighting, it seemed like he became hard-hearted and started fighting. But because his heart was soft for Krishna, so he became a carrier of Krishna's mercy. And whoever Arjuna killed, it is described on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, actually they attained their spiritual form. So how much compassion was there even in that killing? That is the real soft-heartedness.
Prabhupada uses the word magnanimity. Krishna considered that sort of magnanimity mere weakness of heart. Misplaced magnanimity.
Misplaced magnanimity.
Very well explained. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I guess we wanted to pause here and see, what do you guys think about this weakness of heart and how does it manifest in our lives? What is your experience and how does it become a stumbling block on our path to Krishna?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I think I don't really see it as a weakness of heart, but I think the softness of heart comes up because you tend to want to attend to everyone around you, and which is good, which I think is great. And I think I consider that as a purpose of my life, to attend to things around me, whether I know them, I don't know them, it keeps me going. But where it comes in my way of Krishna consciousness, I think, is that sometimes I tend to do it at the cost of my routine towards this, right? If I need to attend to something. Sometimes I sort of tell myself, it's okay, the hands that help are holier than the lips that pray. So it's okay. If I don't do this today because this person needs my time much more than me chanting or, attending a session like this. But I always have this question, am I doing the right thing? And I've never been able to find an answer to that. That's my assessment of how the softness of my heart is coming my way. And I could be completely wrong with it.
Such a good question. I think we're going to open this question up and we want to hear from all of you. What do you think for what Vineshwari said? That sometimes, people are, calling us, right? So we want to attend to them. We want to love them. We want to care for them. So it's a softness of heart. It's a good quality, but can it get in the way of our spiritual development at the expense of maybe our time that we have to spend with Krishna?
Can I say?
Yeah, go ahead, Tarini, please.
I was thinking that as she was asking this question, if we think that we are the only one who is maintaining them or giving them love, and we are the only one that only because of me they are in protection, only because of me that they are loved and taken care of, then it becomes a blockage. Because we don't see the higher power that is taking care of them.
Very nice. Yeah, we think that we are the protector, we are the server. Very nice. It leads to a feeling of being the doer. Very nice. Anybody else? Yes, Malar, go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Mataji and Prabhuji. This is always the dilemma I also come across. because I can just tell you, for instance, yesterday I had to go for a dinner with my family because it was my husband's birthday. But at the same time, day before yesterday, I signed up for leading the chanting. So I was not sure, like, what should I do in this situation? Like, my daughter has to come and take care of the homework, and I can't just delay until we finish the chanting. So I had to kind of text Amrita Wani Mataji, and then I had to go like, can you please ask someone to lead the chanting for me today? That's what I did. But I'm not sure whether that is the right way to do or not. But I believe we always come across such things in our materialistic life. And I think balancing both, I believe Krishna will forgive us because, same time, we had to take care of the other side of the life too. So that's what I strongly believe. But I don't know, everybody can think differently.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a very valid point, and
Yeah.
you're right that sometimes we have to attend to multiple things at the same time. And how we do that is actually the art of Krishna consciousness. And that is what we're trying to do. And so, one example that has helped us a lot over the years, two things that have helped us a lot. One is we have seen that when we put our spiritual life on the front burner, then because all the energies, they're actually, the material energy is a shadow of Krishna. So then that automatically finds its place. And in a secular world, of course, it's a famous Stephen Covey example that you put the big pieces of stone in the jar, and then the small pieces of sand will find its way. So that's one. So, but having said that, another example that Vaisheshika Prabhu has shared with us, which is very helpful, is that you always have a center point. When the birds fly, there's a center point alignment. But being in the center means that sometimes we have to fall off the center. But if we know what the center is, we always can come back to that same center. And that's actually what it means to balance. Balance doesn't mean that we'll always, be right on, on the dot.
Yeah, in our heart, we know that this is where I want to be. And today I was not able to do that, but tomorrow I'll come back to it because this is the most important thing for me.
Yeah.
So Krishna is looking at our heart. What are we attached to? And
we have a certain, values or certain practices that we stick to every day, and that consistency builds our strength. And it's actually the consistent, drops of water every day. That's what actually erodes that stone.
And when also, like, if we, like as you rightly said, there's a balance. If you go too much on the other side and say, okay, the spiritual practices are the lowest priority, and then I'll just take care of everything in the family or the society or whatever, and those things will just consume our time, and then we'll not have any quality time with Krishna, and then our capacity to serve and give will also diminish because we are not nourishing ourselves. And when people see us that we are following a discipline or following whatever practice we are doing, then they also start respecting that and they start working around it. But when they see us like always like, okay, ready to sacrifice that, then they start, okay, give me more, give me more, give me more, and then soon we are depleted.
Actually, I was thinking that this actually another reason why we struggle with this question is because we are not able to see how this is a service to others. We want to serve others, but actually taking the time to fortify ourselves and become an instrument is actually the greatest service that we can do for others. And we have seen that in our own lives, that the way we can now serve our family and our friends or whatever is much greater. The capacity to serve is much greater. And the service is also properly aligned. Otherwise, it just could become just a sentimental thing. So taking care of our spiritual life is not a selfish thing. It's actually the greatest act of selflessness and will increase our capacity for service to others. So I don't know if that helps, Bhuvaneshwari, or if anyone's. Yes, Bhaktilata, go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Like, very nice point. Like, this is like a constant, like, moment to moment struggle for how many years we put in we are in Krishna consciousness. We are going to face this constantly. One, it could be in the form of like like maybe family in the beginning, but then later on it takes us as our own body, like, illness of our aging is one big thing that is, lurking around the corner. So we have to, it's like a constant prayer, like, and also like for me it is that is the only thing. And then any situation or all situations can be treated as like, as a begging to Krishna, like, let me be close to you, then don't take me far away from you, like, uh, because that's what the material energy plan is.
Actually, there's a little thought experiment that we can all do, and maybe we should do it, maybe physically too, which is that we walk away from the whole thing. We think that we are carrying this whole material world on our shoulders, right? And we have the sense that if I don't do this, what's going to happen to this world? What will happen to my children, my this person and that person? And what if we were to walk away and then we come back and see the world will actually go just fine? Nothing is going to stop. Give yourself just 5 days, 4 days.
Yeah, I mean, we have
Right?
seen when somebody very close and somebody who's managing everything, they pass away. Within 5 days, the tears dry up, 7 days, 12 days, and then the life just goes on.
Life goes on, it just it's amazing. And it's not, it's not like a pessimistic or a callous thing to say, but it's just the way of the world. It's a current of the world. It's very, very strong. It'll just keep flowing. So of course, it doesn't mean that we don't do our responsibilities, but we can also put this in perspective that, we don't have to take the burden. The greatest burden that we have actually is to free ourselves. And in doing that, we can actually benedict the whole world. So Amrita, go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I was thinking about on the same lines that, we give ourselves too much credit. It helps us, it helps me to think that I'm powerless and my ability to do something comes from Krishna. So, if I'm able to do something, it's only because of Krishna. If I'm, waking up early in the morning, it's only because Krishna is letting me do that. So I think if, we are not able to do something, then we just have to, kind of let it, fall into place by letting, Krishna decide if that is what, he wants from us.
Yeah, for sure. Such a nice point. And our desire to serve is actually a very noble desire. And it's actually the someone who wants to serve all the time. But where do you get the capacity and the empowerment to serve? That you get by, pausing for some time and taking out this time to really solidify our spiritual understanding. Then every word that comes out of our mouth will be actually for the benefit of others.
And when we become an example, because especially in Kali Yuga, somebody practicing spiritual life and taking it seriously is a very rare thing in Kali Yuga. It's not Dwapar or Sati Yuga. Everybody was following that, especially in household life. It is so rare now. So when we become an example ourselves, and then people actually take notice, and then they start seeing that, yeah, this is possible. Even living in household life, I can be a spiritual person and practice spirituality. So that example actually inspires people. Maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whenever the time is right for everybody, they may also take it because they saw an example. Just like we remember the example of our grandmother or grandfather or somebody who inspired us, right? So we pass on that baton by becoming an example ourselves. And that is a great service to inspire somebody to be attracted to Krishna. That is a great service, actually.
I hope that helps, Purneshwari.
Oh, it does, Mataji. But just that, we have been repeatedly told and brought up with the value that, you have to live, with some use for the others around you. And then if there is one day that you just, for example, don't do anything for another person, consider it as a day that's totally wasted, right? So it's so strongly ingrained into your mind. And sometimes when I see people who wake up like 3 o'clock in the morning and keep praying until night 10 o'clock, I'm like, what is this person doing? I know it's a spiritual practice, but for the value systems that I've been brought up with, I'm not able to accept this.
Sure.
From morning 3 o'clock to 10 o'clock, you're just simply sitting and praying, closing your eyes to all the needs around you of people. So I think it's just a mental shift. Maybe that the other person is right and I'm wrong, or maybe there's a middle path. But these are questions that come up. Sorry, Mataji, please go.
And also there are stages of life. Some like we see in the case of our acharyas also, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was vigorously taking care of his household responsibilities, at the same time vigorously preaching. And then he reached a stage of life where he just kind of withdrew from everything. In the last 3 or 4 years of life, he was just continuously surrendered to the chanting the names. And so everybody goes to that stage at some point. And so we have to look at the stage of life also.
The stage of life, I think, is the key.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you that even in our own tradition, it is encouraged. I mean, it is actually recommended that we also live a life of compassion and service. Because without that, like you're saying, we could just completely shut ourselves off from the world. So there's a place for everything, and especially as people taking care of family and children, we do have responsibilities and duties, and we have to learn the art of balancing that. Because the other extreme is that I can just be doing that, and we've seen that in our own families, right? I remember with our grandparents, they're like, okay, we've raised the grandchildren, now I'm waiting for the grandchild's, for my grandchild's son. And then, till the very end, they're talking, okay, oh, maybe I'll be able to see his marriage before I die. So, it just doesn't end. So we also have to be intelligent enough to know what is of real significance and importance, and dedicate a portion of our life at least.
Because we have done this so many times in previous lifetimes, taken care of family and raised families and human species and other species. We have done it all again and again and again. So where has that landed us? This is where we are right now, right? Taking care of everybody. This is where we are right now. So unless we take care of ourselves in relationship to Krishna, the same story is going to be repeated again. And there's deja vu. Here am I again.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
I was thinking like that is when someone is get that stage of constant remembrance, means it's the mercy of Krishna, right? Like it's not by like force or something, like it's not like we abandon something to get this. No, it just happens naturally, and then that is like that is in Krishna's hand to elevate us to that consciousness. That is a service, right? Like the more that means we just got, it's the mercy. It's Krishna's uplifting that person, that soul, like closer to him, closer and closer, and then all the other things just fall off naturally.
Yeah, and it'll happen anyways, whether we practice bhakti or not. At some point in our life, everything is going to fall off. So so that there is that also. Rebecca, any thoughts from you?
Hare Krishna. I was thinking, and you kind of brought it up. What I was thinking about is that, like, I think it has something to do with like ignorance and our intelligence. Because every time I find that I'm getting sort of like sucked into, I'm getting pulled down by like the suffering in the world. Because I mean, we have soft hearts. We look around and we see that this world is a terrible place. But if I let it stop me from my Krishna consciousness, or I let it get in the way of what I'm doing, then it's a problem. And then I'll try to remind myself of like what the things that I know to be true. Like I know that this is a fallen world, and I know that that we're all on our way back to God, and like all the things that we've learned. It's like when we forget them, I think, is when we fall into that ignorance, and then we sort of lose our way for a little. I don't know. That's what I was thinking about it.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's very nice. Yeah. And the desire, this is a very natural desire. It's actually a very noble desire for us to somehow be an instrument in eradicating the suffering of the world. This is actually what all the greatest teachers in our line, they dedicated their lives to this. And I mean, we've been listening to lecture over lecture about just the amount of sacrifices and austerities these acharyas have gone through, just so that we can actually be the recipient of all that we are receiving right now. So our entire movement is actually based on the blood, toil, sweat, tears of all these great teachers. And we ourselves are called to be part of that. How are we going to be part of that unless and until we purify ourselves?
Yeah, if we don't fortify ourselves, then our capacity to serve and give and receive will be limited.
Yeah, how are we going to be? We're going to be depleted. Our capacity is not, and we won't even know what to give. There's a story that Prabhupada talks about. There was a mother who had a son who had typhoid, and she had another younger boy who was who wanted to love his brother, and the brother was saying, "Give me some fried food." And the mother had prohibited that, no, fried food is not good for you. But the younger brother, without knowing what is proper compassion, he just went ahead, got some puris and fed the boy, you know. So our problem is that we don't even know what compassion, we don't even know what compassion is for ourselves. How are we going to be compassionate to others, right? So we have to first understand what is compassion, what is service, what is the meaning of true love, and then we can actually become an instrument of that love for the rest of the world.
At the same time, I guess we keep doing what we have to do.
Yeah.
And constantly praying to Krishna that please. Krishna says, I give you the intelligence. I'll give you the intelligence, whatever is needed. Aditi, any thoughts from you? So nice to see you. And Bhavneet also so nice to see you.
Bhavneet, we missed you. Yes, Aditi, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I missed the beginning. I'm sorry. Will I be able to access the recording later on?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I did have some thoughts about this conversation. I think it's such an important question, and I think it is something that I grapple with every day. And I think the way that I kind of soothe myself is by reminding myself that there is like this true like resonance within me of Krishna, and I can, when I make time to like hear it, then when I move through the world, I'm creating more harmony. And if I'm operating from this place of like forcing and like I need to do this and I should do this, like I create cacophony, I create this like discord just in the underlying connection with this other person who I think I'm helping, I think I'm serving, but there's this like tension that builds there. And you know, maybe everyone doesn't experience it like this, but I certainly notice like resentment come up when I'm serving from a place of strain. And I find this practice and meditation in general really helps me to serve from this place of harmonizing.
So beautiful, Aditi.
Yeah.
Really love the way you said it. Yeah, it's very, very nice. Yeah. And it's true, you know, that the more we are, you know, and we've seen that like sometimes, and this is a common refrain in this material world, look all that I did for you. And what did I get in return? And, you know, and this is something that, especially growing up, I saw this with some of my own elders in our family, where they spend their life taking care of this and that. And at the end, you know, the material world is what it is. It goes about in its own way. And then you're left with just a feeling of bitterness and anger and resentment. But when you serve from this deeper place of spiritual connection, then the service itself is the reward. Then the person is not looking for anything else out of that service. And so that's where we want to be, you know?
Yeah. Bhavneet, go ahead. Yours.
I just wanted to say Hare Krishna. It is so nice to see you and hear your voice. I've been absent for a long time, but I hope to continue to be, you know, present in more of these meetings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bhavneet. It's so wonderful to have you.
How are your boys doing?
So, anybody else? I guess we could continue then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, all what was said in today's class is so true. The fallen world, like Rebecca said, like what you said, stages of life, it absolutely holds true. And even having a balance between your family, your work, doing, you know, your duties and your your routine work, what is required. But at the end of the day, when we come back, at any time we are in trouble or we feel low, our energies are drawn away. I mean, this is what really helps us. So it's always, I mean, by default now, once it sets in, for me, it is like that. Hare Krishna is by default. So that, I mean, that's where we get energy strong.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. Beautifully said. So maybe we'll continue reading. Otherwise, we'll be coming back for many lifetimes, right? Text 4. So this Hridaya Durbalyam. So just by the process of chanting, one can actually find the strength of heart. But that strength is not one of whole strength, it's a strength of love. right? That helps us to
Sorry, I signed out earlier by mistake. My connection was bad.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, balancing is important, but at the end of the day, when we realize this is where we draw energies from, every time we have a better experience, maybe even through our loved ones, we do stuff, and then somewhere down the line we feel, oh, and finally what? So sometimes you get the feeling of life is empty and meaningless.
Yeah.
I mean, people must have experienced this, but the minute you look at Krishna, you think of Krishna, and he's always there in your. I mean, as I've said this earlier also, like it's always Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
You're very fortunate. Thank you so much, Raj.
Thank you.
Text 4. Arjuna Vacha Katham Vishma Maham Sankhe Dronam Cha Madhusudana Ishubhipati Yotshami Pujar Havari Sudana.
Arjuna said, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counterattack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship?
So Arjuna is continuing this is his final arguments that he's giving. He's coming to the end of his rope in trying to resist Krishna. And it's very interesting. The words that he uses for Krishna are very pointed so far. And he says, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, you killed big enemies, and you killed this big Madhu demon because they were demons and they were like really bad for the humanity. So that's why I killed them. But Bhishma and Drona, they are like such noble people. So how can I become the killer of such Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship? If you were to ask me to kill demons, then I would be happy to kill them for you. But you're asking me to kill my beloved grandfather and my teacher who are worthy of my worship. We can't even offer a retort to them through words. So what to speak of shooting arrows at them? How can you, O killer of enemies, how can you make me the killer of my grandfather and my teacher? So Arjuna is kind of like, you can see he's breaking down right now.
It's kind of interesting how Prabhupada, he's in his purport, he is talking about, the idea that anyone who's our superior is actually worshipable. And this is the general etiquette. Prabhupada saying it's general etiquette that superiors are not to be offered even a verbal fight. And even if they're sometimes harsh in behavior, they should not be harshly treated. So this is again, part of this culture, this training ground, that how do we treat, those that are our superiors, our seniors, is actually by always treating them with respect, because that's how we become the recipient of great mercy. And one time, if we can just accept, and bow down our head, this is actually, great training in the path of bhakti, is that if we can put our head down and say, I accept, even if it seems unfair, then there's this portal that suddenly opens, and this is a portal of mercy that opens. And so a huge part of actually bhakti, and I think this was a question that Vinny asked yesterday about pride and humility, and this is actually how we cultivate humility. Because she was just saying that how when you get this knowledge, then there's a tendency for us to become a little proud. So how do you then, and humility is the doorway, and you're not different from bhakti. So this is how you develop, by cultivating these qualities of good behavior. That becomes a practice of humility.
Yeah, that becomes our protector actually. Good behavior becomes our biggest protection in bhakti, and not being always right, fair and unfair, and this and that. And who is a superior? Superior is by age. There are many definitions of who is a superior. So it's somebody who's older than us. They may not be as educated as us or learned as us, but if they are advanced in age, then that's a superior. If somebody is more advanced than us in learning, then that is also superior. Somebody who is more advanced than us in spiritual path, in terms of initiation or years they have been practicing bhakti, then they're also considered superior. So we have to kind of take into consideration all these things and then just behave accordingly.
Yes, Karthik, go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I have a question here. I mean, in this purport that when Arjuna is worried about how teacher like Drona can be attacked or fought back. So in our tradition or culture, teachers are worshipped even as a god, like they're considered like Guru Deva Maheshwara Guru, Guru is like the god himself, like it's compared like that. So I just don't understand, like how can a guru or a teacher like Drona be attacked by this? This is very perplexing to me.
Yeah, this whole battle of Kurukshetra is very perplexing. But this is Krishna's arrangement, how Drona and Bhishma, they have been put on this other side of Kauravas. They were, even Bhishma and Drona had that choice, right? They could have stood up for the highest dharma, which is honoring Krishna's desire. But for some reason, they chose to stay on the side of the Kauravas because they were drawing salary from them and they had been maintained by the kingdom. And then Bhishma had his own promise to keep. So here you see Mahabharata is also a lesson in understanding what is real dharma. And there are so many layers of dharma that one has to deal with, right? Raja dharma, Kul dharma, family dharma. Then the highest dharma is our allegiance to Krishna, our service to Krishna. So through Mahabharata, we see this coming out in stark daylight, that what is the best, what is the highest dharma to follow, and how do we adjust the other dharma. So Arjuna is forced to now, so far he has been choosing his grandfather and his teacher, but that is not bringing him peace. And until Krishna speaks the Bhagavad Gita and he learns what is the real dharma, until then Arjuna is not peaceful.
I was actually thinking, just what you were saying, I really like what you said. And I was also thinking that dharma is such an interesting concept that at any stage, whichever dharma you're on, it actually feels completely right for a reason, because it is right. Now, for example, so if you see these as like layers and ladders, right? Steps on a ladder. So at this step, this dharma is perfectly fine. Now, if he had done the same thing for a lower cause, then this would have been an act of, great violence and something completely unjust, for which he would have been punished. But he is giving, so when you're climbing on a ladder, if you give the lower step for a higher step, then there is no fault. So if the killing of Bhishma and Drona came from a place of personal self-interest, then that would be, personal dharma over family dharma, or the dharma of taking care of people. So then that would be off. But he is giving, so like, for example, even in Mahabharata, we see that Maharaj Yudhishthira was asked to tell a lie, and he did not. The Prabhupada says that was actually an adharmic thing, because Krishna is asking him to tell a lie, and he wants to hold on to the dharma of morality. So morality is good, but if morality is given up for a lower dharma, then that is wrong. But if morality is given up for a higher dharma, then that's just like higher steps on the ladder. So
that's a very good point. And to understand the difference between these dharmas and which is higher and which is lower, that's why we need guidance from devotees, advanced devotees.
And that I think also connects with Bhuvaneshwari's question, that serving everyone is actually good dharma. It's what's recommended. But if we don't serve others simply because I want to live a comfortable life and I just want to live my own life, then that is not good. But if we have something higher, then if you don't take that, then again you just stay on that level, right?
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhu.
Gurun hatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum bhekshamapiha loke hatvartha kamam stu gurun hi eva bunjiya bhogan rudhir pratigdhan.
It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are my superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. So
this is Arjuna's final retort in terms of giving arguments, that again the same argument continues, that you can see again Arjuna again brings in his own enjoyment here. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. So again Arjuna's own, you can see how Arjuna's arguments are so mixed. He's talking about respecting superiors, but say, okay, even if I kill them, then how can I enjoy?
What will happen to me?
What will happen to me? And then this is the final. So after giving all these arguments, this is what happens to us also when we are not aligned with Krishna, then we come up with so many arguments. My mind, my body comes up with so many arguments not to be in alliance with Krishna. And then finally, it still doesn't satisfy us. The only thing that satisfies us is connecting to Krishna. So Arjuna's final argument comes here. Na chetad vidma kataranna gariyo yadva jayena yadivana jayeyu yaneva hatva najivishamasa devastita pramukhe dhatrashtra.
Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they're now standing before us on that battlefield. So, it's so much about Arjuna. And this is what, again, goes back to the idea of Hridaya Daurbalya. We're seeing softness of heart, but that softness of heart is really all about myself. How will I live if they go away? What will happen to me? So much of our grief in this world, so much of our pain in this world is really about us. We go to see someone who's leaving their body and we start crying. So many times we are not crying for the person who's leaving. We are crying, putting ourselves in that position and thinking, oh, what if my loved one leaves like this? What will happen to me? Or if you see some little child suffering, then yes, we may feel some pain, but it's really because, oh, I have a son, I have a daughter. What happens if something like this happens to this person? So it always comes back to the center point, and that center point is myself. And so that's why that compassion is actually not complete, but rather it's actually an extension of my self-centered, the I, me, and mine, worldview that I live in. And that's what drives all my material emotions. That's what drives my love. The love in this world is also driven by that same I, me, mine.
Like Prahlad Maharaj says, Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu, that people don't really know what is the real swartha. Swartha means what is my real self and what is my real self-interest. So selfishness, when it is materially motivated, is bad. But because we don't really know what is real selfishness. Real selfishness is to think about the interest of Krishna. So when we develop that real selfishness, then we actually become selfless and we are able to offer that service to others.
So I guess we'll pause here because the next verse is actually a very important verse.
So maybe we discuss that
next time. Because this will require us a full class just to talk about this verse. So this is a good place to stop, and we'll just hear from you guys, and then we'll leave, and then Bhaktilata and Tarini will continue the discussion.
So they're not moving forward, right? They can continue.
Yeah, you can just continue. Yeah. So any reflections, questions, or comments so far?
2 minutes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
So the example about what we're talking about dharma. I mean, I was thinking we see that in the materialistic world as well, like in our day-to-day life. For example, even if in office scenarios, there are scenarios where you have two choices: either you go against the team or against even your leadership in order to do the right thing. Now, if you put yourself as a center, that if I do this, everyone's gonna hate me, not like me, but this is the right thing to do. Shall I go ahead and do it, or be a yes person and just to make people happy, don't do the right thing? And that's kind of, I mean, it's a very, very, very mild and simpler dilemma in comparison of Arjun, but we also face this in our day-to-day life. And sometimes we have to be brave because you're serving that higher. You're not thinking about you, you're thinking about what is right here rather than what will happen to me. So you're not putting yourself in the center, you're putting that particular dharma of what you're supposed to do in the center and take that decision. And in the bigger picture, that decision is right because you're not thinking about yourself. That's how I was trying to relate.
Yeah, no, that's a very practical example, and I guess that happens probably a lot in workplace also. And I guess the key there is to express ourselves in such a way that it's constructive and it's positive, and it's not like personally targeted towards anybody. So even though when we have a higher purpose, it has to be done in a way that it creates harmony rather than cacophony. So, and that comes from a deeper place within us. So we have to go now, 6:59.
So you guys will continue the discussion. Go ahead. You can take over Bhaktilata and Tarini.
Okay. Sure. Like if we will just discuss if they have any questions.
Yeah, these topics can be churned a little bit more if people want to reflect some other comments. So yeah, just
Sure.
help out Bhaktilata and Tarini and all of you.
So we'll have to leave. Sorry for this. I just have this important call we have to take.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Should I share the screen for the verses or yeah, Amritavani, can you share or do you want me to share?
You can share, Mataji. I give up.
Okay. Thank you. So yeah, like
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So, Mataji, I was thinking on 2.3.
You're able to see the screen, right?
Yes, yes. So I was thinking, like, let's say my loved one or somebody who is very dear to me, if they do something very unacceptable or something that is unexpected of them, we tend to be angry with them, and the tone of our voice changes when we are talking to them. It's a natural reaction if something unexpected happens or they do something which is unacceptable. So here Arjuna has done something which is unexpected of him. But the way Krishna is communicating in this verse with Arjuna, when you read the sentence, it doesn't look like his tone is harsh or he's angry. So I feel it's a very great example of non-violent communication. In fact, the entire Bhagavad Gita is a great example of non-violent communication, how Krishna convinces Arjuna finally to participate in the battle. So that's what I was thinking.
Yes. Nice point, Prabhu. Like I also used to think that, also Krishna is not saying, what are you saying? Don't you remember they tried to, do this to you? They did harm to you. They tried to kill you. They tried to poison you. Like kind of, he's also not putting the other person down, right? Like in the sense to put anger in his heart, like so that he can fight. Krishna is not doing that also. And throughout the entire Bhagavad Gita, he, like at this point, at least he's trying to, really, really elevate his consciousness, right? Like Krishna doesn't, incite him. He inspires him, Arjuna, to fight, to make his own decision. And that is, I felt like, yeah, but whereas when we saw Duryodhana, he was exactly doing the opposite. Like he went and he spoke to like Dronacharya, and then he was Dronacharya. He was saying like, see the other army, how they have arranged there. He was trying to quote Drishtadyumna, who is being, who took birth just to kill Drona. So he was trying to put anger in Dronacharya so that he can fight. But Krishna, on the other hand, like, inspires. So very nice point. Yeah. Non-violent.
In this translation, Krishna is appreciating Arjuna. He's saying, "Oh, chastiser of the enemy." So he's making his point, but still appreciating at the same time.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. Tani, do you want to add something?
No, I don't want to, but I like what Prabhu said, that how it's a non-violent communication, and it's all about appreciating. He's appreciating him in the whole argument, in the whole Bhagavad Gita. Really, yeah.
Hari Bol.
Go ahead, Prabhu.
Any other point from anybody else?
No point. Actually, I wanted to thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji, for giving such a wonderful explanation and bringing this point of non-violent communication. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
I'm thinking about Arjuna point of view actually. He's so humble and soft-hearted, as we are already discussed that thing. So I'm thinking that the action and reaction. Arjuna asked Krishna, he opened his heart actually to the Krishna. It's very nice way actually. Sometimes we have so many dilemma, right, in the situations also. We can't open the heart to others. And that is the main problem because of ego comes and that is a weakness, right? It's my weakness. I can't open. If I have a dilemma in some things, in any situations, sometimes I can't open my heart. But here Arjuna opened his heart to the Krishna because he wants the solution also. And Krishna, this Sasangara Prabhu said that rightly give an answer to the Krishna. So I just reflect on that.
Yes, nice point. He was recipient, right? Like his heart was so so prepared. Like Krishna also, like it's like communication means like, like that's what happens. Like that's, as Satsandra Prabhu was saying, that non-violent communication, it enables people also, like, the way we say, the other person's heart opens, and then as they open up again, they can hear more. So when the recipient is ready, then the speaker also, they're also give more, right? Like they're able to give more as we receive more. Like so heart is like, we can also see like a container, like how to expand that container to receive more. That's what you're saying. Nice point. Thank you. Any other point from any other verse, like, or any other discussion?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Nikunja.
I was thinking of this point when when Arjuna is bringing out this point that respectable superiors, Bhishma and Dronacharya, right? He's talking about them, and like it feels like sometimes we respect people based on their position, not on their qualities. So even a person who is sitting on a big position is doing something wrong, it's wrong. So I was thinking that this point that Arjuna is bringing out is very practical and relevant even in our present day lives. I mean, though a person who's like at a higher position, maybe he's like very close to us, but if he is doing something wrong, then we have to say it's wrong. We don't have to be quiet. We have to stand for it. So this is what like I thought that it's bringing out.
Yes, and I mean, like, Tarini, do you want to say something? Or
Just actually, we had a discussion about this like a couple of months back, that we cannot like judge Bhishma and Drona because I mean, we cannot say that they are wrong. I mean, they acted in that way because of the situation, but we cannot directly point out that he's wrong because they are pure devotees. So this is the job that they're doing. I think we had a discussion. I don't know, Bhaktilata, do you remember?
yes, like even today, like Lok Prabhu was saying, right? Like this is they are pure devotees, and they had the choice, but then because they had the they had that obligation, right? Because they were taking salary and then they were living under Duryodhana, so they had to take the side. But I get, Nikunja, your point. Again, like as Vidurva Mataji was just pointing out, that for a higher principle, the lower dharma can be, given up. But again, like that respect for elders, like when we are trying to do it, like what is the basis that we are doing? Is it for my own satisfaction or is it for a higher purpose? So that is a balancing act.
Yeah.
So we can take this and then apply it for mundane purposes.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not saying that Bhishma and Drona, we know that they are doing a role play. Even Arjuna is doing a role play here. He's a very learned person. He's playing a role play and he's presenting himself as a fool. So I was just saying that why is he bringing this point out that they are respectable, Bhishma and Drona? I mean, for him, there is a blood relation. For him, they are their teachers, his teacher and grandfather. So there is a relation, and there is a student relation to with Arjuna, and there is a grandson relation to Arjuna with Bhishma. So only thing that I was thinking that in our practical life, this may happen. I mean, of course, we have to seek the guidance of our authorities before making decisions. So this is what Arjuna is presenting here. He's taking the advice of Krishna. He's not taking his decisions all by himself. He's seeking for the higher authority, for the guidance. So this is what my point was. If we are in this situation, there where the role of spiritual master and the instructing masters comes in place, where if you are in this kind of a situation, how you are going to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, nice point. I understand your point. Like few verses down the line, Prabhupada is going to make this point, same point. He will say, when Krishna speaks, Prabhupada is going to explain that, as you're saying, even if the superiors are doing wrong, even if they are like superiors, we can we can abandon them, so sort of like we can overrule them, but that has to be done for a higher dharma. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikunja. Any other point? So yeah, this verse we finished today.
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Yeah, Mataji, here even Bhishma Pitama knows who Krishna is. So, I mean, I'm still, I keep wondering, why is it that he not break his vow or whatever it may be to protect the ruling king? I mean, he knows who Krishna is. So he knows what is the higher purpose and what's the highest duty. So yet he continued with his vow. So basically, I think he was more selfish, that his vow was more important than Krishna.
The thing is, there are multiple, these great personalities. Their characters are always bewildering. We cannot understand their inner motives because they are directly under the control of Krishna. And so there are multiple phases of understanding. The first thing that we are saying is here, like as Prabhupada is saying, they were obligated to take the side of Duryodhana because they were living under his protection, like they were taking salary. So that is the one level of understanding. But then and then acharyas explain to us, this is where acharyas means that person who are self-realized, who are connected to Krishna constantly. They are the ones who are going to show us the door, right? Like to these who are going to resolve these conflicts which are hard to understand from our level. So what the acharyas are saying is, Bhishma was a pure devotee of Krishna, and Krishna has different, wants to enjoy different rasas. One of the rasa is the virya rasa, which is like, the rasa of fighting. So, and to fight, he needs somebody else opposite to fight, right? Like, so in this case, Bhishma took that role. So, and then that is his service to Krishna, to to give that pleasure. So this is the deeper level of understanding. So so like that, like they're all like great personalities, and then their ways are very, very bewildering for us. So we have to understand it through the eyes of the acharyas, then we'll get the correct picture. Otherwise, yeah, like otherwise we'll be lost. We can discuss about this like like many lifetimes, still we won't reach a conclusion. And that is why we need to I mean, this is my personal understanding. Maybe others can share their realization, so how the conflicts are resolved.
No, of course, I understand what you're trying to say. This is part of Krishna's Leela, which I discussed earlier with Prabhuji also. And that's when it came up. When we don't have certain answers, then I feel it is Krishna's Leela. Like even we had discussed earlier about the karma theory. When certain things are to happen, certain things are because Krishna has planned it that way, because he wants to express his Leela, he wants to create his Leela in that fashion, and we become part of that entire Leela game. Anyways, thank you for the answer. Hare Krishna.
Can I add something on that, Mataji?
Sure.
So I am thinking that Krishna wants to actually kill all adharma, right? That's why this war happened. So if Dronacharya and Bhishma is not take a side of Duryodhana, then might be that war will didn't happen, right? Because of Duryodhana have that confidence that Bhima and Dronacharya is so powerful and he will protect him. That's why that the confidence he have, that's why he's doing for that war. So if that's why Bhishma and Drona play that role, so that war will happen, and then adharma, the Krishna destroyed all adharma, or Kauravas, because if we will leave, then it will go more adharma on future also. It's my understanding. I might be wrong, or I don't. It's just my analogy.
Thank you, Amrita. No, that's one way of looking at it. Sure, like right? Like yeah, yeah, that is all Krishna's plan. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a.
Can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry. Go ahead, please.
No. I'm done.
I was just thinking that like you all were talking, that everything that happened or everything that is happening and will happen is part of the grand plan of Krishna. So each one of us, wherever we are stationed in life, we do whatever we do from our perspective. Now, whether it is right or wrong, who decides that? Somebody did right or somebody did wrong. Probably from their perspective, they did the best they could and they did right from their perspective. So who is the one who ultimately decides this?
I mean, is it a general like thing, or do you have any specific?
Like for instance, Bhishma and Drona, they were stationed where they were and they did what they did. But was it right or was it wrong is a different question, I think.
I mean, ultimately, if the goal is to get closer to Krishna, That is the goal.
Yes.
And then whatever Krishna's desire is the highest principle. Any actions or any kind of decisions that we make, if it's going to take us closer to Krishna, then it is good. If it is going to take us away from Krishna, then it's then we have to little bit think about it. Like, am I doing the right thing? And then we have to, and then those things, the one that is going to take us closer to Krishna would be, would be some Acharya's words, like you'll find it in the scriptures. Otherwise, it is for certain. Like, that's what in my personal experience is like, anything that, decisions, that is right and wrong. Right and wrong means like, like people can forever go on contemplating, is this or that. But then as the scriptures, Bhagavatam says that, that's what it says. If it is taking you closer to Krishna, then it is good. It is the Shreyas, or for the highest good. And what is the highest good is bringing our consciousness, which is like ourselves, the soul, closer to Krishna, who's part and parcel of Krishna. And we have to constantly strive to move towards that, because we are part and parcel, and then we are covered right now under material conditioning. Anything that is going to remove the covering and then bring us closer to Krishna is we can't go wrong with that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tarni, do you want to say something?
It's nicely explained.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Did she mean saying that all this is predestined? Was she trying to ask that? Like when I said about Leela, Krishna's Leela, he's doing this for his pleasure, and based on that, everyone is playing a role, and then it's predestined that each one act in a particular manner and not out of choice. I thought this is what she meant, and if so, then certain things are by his Leela, as per my discussions, what I followed, and some things we do out of our own will, and then we have to pay for our own karma. Hare Krishna.
Bhavani, do you want to clarify that?
So, ultimately, everything is, like they say that, not even a single movement, whether it's a leaf, whether it's a human being, whether it's an insect, not even a single movement can happen without his consent. So whatever is happening, whoever is doing whatever is like, I don't know what his name is, but he said it's predestined. That's exactly what I was saying. So in Kurukshetra, every character, whatever they did, was they were supposed to do it, and it had to happen. So again, from a perspective, if somebody was on the right side, it took them closer to God, or if somebody was not on the right side, I don't know, it took them away from God. But this was something that had to happen, and it was by design, by Krishna's design.
That's right. Like whatever happened, it was Krishna's plan, design. But we can't. My explanation was we can't take that and apply it in our own life and say, not do anything. We can be like, passive, not take things in our own control. So that is why it's not like that, oh, anyway, it is going to happen. Whatever happens in my life is predestined. Let it happen, whatever, like, okay, it is meant to be this way. No. That's why I wanted to clarify that. Like, we have to, I mean, I know that you don't mean that, but I just wanted to clarify that point. Yes, that.
Yeah, I understand that. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
I just wanted to clarify that point.
Yeah, yes.
Karthik, your hand was up.
I I had a question on this part. So I think Bhishma and Drona, they had pledged allegiance to the Kuru dynasty because of some historical events. They had to serve the Kauravas. So they were serving for that dharmas to to fulfill their dharma, that although they knew what Duryodhana is doing is wrong, they had to take the side because of their pledge. So sometimes in practical life, that is very relevant also, like and we see that in many occasions also. So let me put the question in this way. Let's say I have a family and I have to feed them, and as a household head of the family, I have the responsibility to feed my family, and I have only one job that I get salary from, and it turns out that if I lose my job, then I won't be able to feed or help my family. And in that situation, let's say the company that I'm working for gets involved with bad thing. Should I just quit the job and let the family die of hunger, or what?
Yeah, and I mean, I understand your question. Like, yeah. So again, like, which dharma, like family dharma versus, right? Like, right and wrong is one level of dharma. Like, for example, if the only job that I can do is like, work in a slaughterhouse, so it is a bad thing. Or but then I have to feed my family. That is one level of dharma. The other level is like, the other level of dharma is to show mercy to the animals that I'm dealing with, right? Like, so that is another level. So again, like, these are like,
so
time, place, and circumstances. Okay, like these are all like, very hypothetical situations which are hard to, the principle is given, right? Like the principle of, yes, for higher dharma, we like, to fulfill a higher dharma, we can give up the lower dharma, like that. So, the principle is given. This I mean, like, these situations are, it's hard to fit in the thing, right? Like, what would anyone like to share anything with this? Like, for me,
Yeah, Hare Krishna. See, one is Prabhuji said that he would probably, should he work for a company who probably gets into doing wrong things or bad things? So one is actually bad for him also, because he'll be doing something bad and he may get into trouble eventually. So better he not do that. And finally, our connect with Hare Krishna and devotees is part of that greater plan, where no matter what, your family will not go hungry. Krishna will see to it that he will organize something for you, and it is eventually going to happen if you just think deeper. I understand it's easier said than done, but I mean, life is just like that. You have to try, and things will happen. I mean, we fight greater wars, greater battles in our day-to-day life. So we have to look at that angle of it. And yeah, I mean, that's what I would say. And also the family, eventually they know that my father or my husband is doing wrong things. Probably they also may not support, of course, food. I mean, we are talking about basic survival, where, and if you talk about roti, kapra, makan, and basic food, shelter, clothing, that's a different level altogether. It's like it's like we talk about people who don't have food to eat, and we tell them become devotees. So they'll first think about food, obviously, and you know, and the living. But this is like we are talking once all that is taken care of, and yeah. So it again depends upon the stage of life where you are, what you are, and this is what I feel. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Yeah. As you're saying, these things, like, you know, we can be watchful and then look for the first exit door, right? Like, yeah, right now we may not be in an idealistic situation, but then, as Raj was pointing out, like pretty soon, you know, that Krishna will show us that exit door to a better way of, you know, feeding our family, and then we won't be. Yes, right now it may not be like a permanent kind of a situation. Things change because of, you know, by our practice. That is the exit door. Like when we start taking up the process in our hand, and that's when the doors open. Like maybe I will just say this story from, you know, Krishna Leela, and then we can end. It's 9 o'clock. So it is said that, like, you know, when Vasudev was in the jail, like his hands and feet, everything was tied with the chain. And then that's when, like, you know, when Krishna was born, like Mahavishnu appears, and then he becomes baby Krishna. Before that, he says, take me to, you know, carry this basket across Yamuna, and then take me to Nanda Maharaj's house, leave me there, and then there is a girl baby born, bring it back. And then Vasudev did not stand there and argue. Krishna, can't you see my hands and legs are tied? How do you expect me to do this? He did not say that, or he didn't even think that. And then as soon as he picks up the basket with baby Krishna, ready to, without thinking, how is it going to happen? How am I going to walk even? Right? Like, forget about crossing Yamuna and going all the way to Nandagram to, you know, he didn't think all that. He just picked the basket. At the moment he picked the basket, that's when all the shackles starts breaking, the jail doors open, the jailers are sleeping, and everything happens. So that's what Bhagavatam explains, how the moment we pick this process up, the doors open. So that's my realization here.
Thank you, Bhakti ji.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, okay. So we'll end the class here.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.